Hello, good day everyone. My name is Robert Zamora. Today I'll be talking about the book Blitzscaling, and I'll be talking about 5 key takeaways I got reading the book that can help you scale your business. The Blitzscaling, the lightning fast path to building massively valuable companies, was written by Reid Hoffman and Chris Ye, pretty much describing their ultimate strategy, the ultimate grand strategy, and how businesses can rapidly scale up their businesses several times in a short amount of time. And today we'll be going over the overall concept of blitzscaling and how it can help businesses rapidly scale up. So first we'll be defining what is blitzscaling and how it can help scale your business. So blitzscaling, when you sum it down to how it is described in the book, it is pretty much achieving scalability at a high and in a short amount of time, sacrificing many factors such as efficiency and capital saving measures. So in the book, Hoffman describes blitzscaling as a method for companies to be able to rapidly scale up their businesses. So it comes at the cost of being inefficient as they scale up and not saving capital as they scale up. So it's very inefficient when it comes to time, operations, as well as money. Though the ultimate result of blitzscaling is that the company will be first in with their product or service in when entering the marketplace, ultimately beating the competition by being the first ones in the market. So that leads to one of the first key takeaways from this book is your model is the foundation of scalability, so ensure it is built for the task. Pretty much every business model is different. There's no right formula when it comes to, scaling up a business normally or blitz scaling your business to where you can achieve scalability in a short amount of time compared to your competition. But ultimately, when it comes to applying blitzscaling to your business, you want to ask how the business is going to grow if you do decide to blitzscale. If you decide to take on the tactics that Hoffman encourages you to take on. So it doesn't really apply to everyone's business, though. When it comes to actually applying blitzscaling to your business, it's always important to know what it is that you need to do when it comes to scaling up your business in a rapid pace. So, while sacrificing many of the efficiencies that normal scaling takes, carefully planning, blitzscaling is just rapid, get it done, while at the cost of saving capital and the cost of being efficient as you do scale up. So if those factors hinder how your business works, then perhaps blitzscaling won't work. But for the most part, blitzscaling in the long run will pay for itself, even at the cost of actually scaling up your business. So when scaling up your business, it always comes down to avoiding common and unexpected hindrances to growth. So your business, as it starts off, isn't going to remain the same, at least structurally, as you scale up. Hoffman describes several levels of the sizes of businesses. The smallest one being the family. It's when it comes down to the initial group of the founding members of a company, which would be the founder and its initial workers in the early days, growing all the way up to nations with companies with thousands of employees, many managers overseeing numbers of employees under them. So being able to adapt and to restructure your business in order to meet the size that it grows into will allow the business to be able to successfully blitzscale into bigger size, ultimately reaching the overall target of growing your business at a rapid pace. Being able to anticipate new technology is a good way in keeping your business fresh. Apple, in the early days of computing, start off with the Apple One computer, the Apple II computer being a very popular commercial success, but throughout the 90s, relying on the Apple II namesake, Apple wasn't really able to capitalize on new technologies. So, with the return of Steve Jobs, he was able to reinvigorate the company by releasing new products and pushing the envelope of what a computer company can do with the iPod, the iPad, the iPhone. So being able to push the envelope when it comes to technology and taking that in and being able to ride the wave of new technological advancements will keep the business ahead of the current. Which brings me to my second point, risk. The odds may or may not be in your favor, but you are in the game of global domination. So when it comes to the game of business, everyone is out to win pretty much. So it's not really a time, especially when you're blitzscaling, to take it easy every step of the way. The idea of blitzscaling is to rapidly scale up as fast as you can, taking leaps of faith, testing new and untested practices, which for many Silicon Valley startups had paid off tremendously, especially with companies like PayPal, implementing the new payment technologies, allowing for easy online transactions to take place, which to many in the early days seems like a big waste of time, but in the long run, PayPal is one of the largest online transaction companies to exist. So it also leads to not underestimating tried and true methods. Many companies that blitzscale retain certain traditional methods and being able to keep their ideas afloat, to keep their products in line, to not really push the envelope, but to rapidly scale up, like the clothing manufacturer Zara had with their main operations in Spain, is expanding more into other countries. They retain the same pretty basic model of manufacturing clothes in-house and then distributing them closely to their stores and throughout Spain and the other countries that they sell their products. They're able to take a more traditional model of how clothing manufacturing is done and are able to blitzscale it into an efficient machine in which efficiency has paid off in how they structured their overall business. So that also leads to all risk is not necessary nor helpful. Even if something's risky, it doesn't always have a payout. Even if you consider best case scenarios, oftentimes risk is just when the odds may not be in your favor, but the rewards, if you're right, could be very, very, very positive. Our risk is like that, so it's always best to really understand what is best for your business and what is best for your employees, which leads into strategy. Blitzscaling should be properly integrated into your overall strategic plan. When it comes to starting and stopping blitzscaling is really an idea, like a supplemental strategy to your overall company's plan. It is not a way to live by throughout the entire life of your company. The idea is that blitzscaling is supposed to be the fuel that lights the rocket of your company, shooting it up into scale, and then being able to determine whether you've reached maximum velocity to where you reach the goal of how big your company should scale or how even much it could scale. So determining whether a business should even blitzscale or not is very important. If you have a company that doesn't rely on rapid scaling, just does not make sense, and it's all about determining what is best for your company. And just like the insight before, taking risk, if it doesn't seem like even like remotely like positive in any way, then it's all about understanding, is this the right approach for the company? So that's how integrating blitzscaling to your overall plan can help you realize what how to reach a more positive future for your company. So it comes to my next point about management, being able to efficiently manage or effectively manage the growing business while doing right by all stakeholders. So when it comes to as the business grows, more concern goes to the stockholders and the stakeholders. This is very true with every single major company that exists, even Apple, Google. It all comes down to the people that are giving us the money. How are we going to make them happy? And oftentimes it comes at the cost of everyone else in the company, like the people who have been there since day one, new and loyal employees, even customers that have been buying into the products and see that the company is kind of losing their way. It's all about being able to retain that identity that the business had when it had first began. So the founder is the business and the business is the founder. This is a very like you can say like kind of weird saying, but the way I see it is that the founder is the representative of what the business is, especially from day one. Steve Jobs is, you can say, a very difficult man to work with, even with his best friend Steve Wozniak. He's a very difficult, temperamental person. But when it came to the overall vision of computing, Steve Jobs was ahead of his time. He saw computing as a way for people to not only do tasks like calculations and stuff, to express themselves, to be able to do anything that the human mind wanted to do and couldn't articulate it. The computer was meant to be a tool for that. And one of his sayings being, "What the computer is the bicycle for the mind." He was able to see that. So his overall vision for Apple was to create great products to which humankind can benefit greatly from. And that's something that has pretty much stayed true, at least since Apple, at least when Steve Jobs was still the head of Apple right before his death. But it's still something that holds true to Apple. Even fans, he'd buy the words, he'd buy the ideas that Steve Jobs represented. So it also comes down to organizational culture, and it's essential to establishing a cultural following. If you don't have if you have a company that has a great cultural following, blitzscaling it, has a possibility of ramping up the amount of followers you have. But as you become bigger companies have to sometimes change priorities, and because of that, they sort of lose sight of who they are, where they came from, and who are the number one fans since day one. So being able to retain your identity, being able to manage, what we should hold on to, your identity, employees, from your new hires all the way to your people that have been with you since day one. So that comes down to aiming for growth, striving for retention. You don't want to alienate the people that have been with you since day one. You want to keep that organizational history as long as you can with the company. People remembering what it was like in the early days, never losing sight of who they were since day one. Google, unfortunately, I believe has gone through this phase. A lot of people, a lot of the original team isn't left, at least to my knowledge, at the company anymore. So they weren't really the new hip company, the new internet startup anymore. They've now become this conglomerate that has unfortunately lost their, I would say it lost their initial cult following, their initial identities, principles. Though they retain a lot of it, the charm that made Google very interesting in the early days simply isn't there anymore. Which comes down to responsibility. The goal is to win, but not at the cost of your morality or integrity. I believe out of all the insights, this is one of the important insights because a lot of companies, I mean tech companies, but every company that has existed or ever will exist is something that is often, I think, overseen is responsibility, especially social responsibility. So being in the best interests of the stakeholders is often the most important, not just the stockholders. Of course, the stakeholders mean everyone that's involved or everyone that has some sort of stake in how the company performs or what the company does. The stockholders only really having a financial stake in the company performance. So blitzscaling, of course, when you rapidly scale, you're sacrificing capital gain. You're also sacrificing efficiency, but in the long run, the overall goal is to be able to create a scalable business that can rapidly scale and be able to generate a lot more revenue at the size that you were before blitzscaling. So, being responsible in having the best interests of everyone involved in the company and not just the people who are profiting off of money is important in not only just being ethical in the business world, but also to not lose sight of who you are as a company, to not, you know, go around and capitalize, exploit people. So you're supposed to win over the customer and not hold them hostage. Not supposed to force them or trick them into buying into you. And this is something that Facebook has done since almost the early days, really. When when it comes to selling the information of their users to other companies, which those other advertising companies use information to target ads to certain people, which, we can make an argument that, benefits some people, that, they're able to find, or they're able to be catered to what they'd like to buy. But in the overall grand scheme of things, being forced to see ads isn't necessarily um, like normal thing many would like to undergo, especially when using a website that's meant to just connect you with friends. So, which comes down to ethics should maintain or even grow as a business grows. So as companies grow, ethics often begin to dwindle. It is apparent with many companies, tech, conventional companies like General Electric. When they first began in I believe the late 1800s, they were just a modest company, but as they scaled in the size, it became about business and meeting the deadlines um, of their financial reporting to be able to make money, and overall losing sight of the people that they serve, and in the end really screwing them over when it comes to responsibility to the society. So when scaling up your business, when blitzscaling your business, as your business rapidly scales, never forget your social responsibility and always make sure that you're being fair amongst your customers, and to not utilize them but to win them over, to make them feel welcome, to welcome them in to your product or whatever service you provide. So in the end, blitzscaling, very, very efficient method, very efficient tool in being able to rapidly scale up your business and kind of unlock many, many possibilities. Though it does seem very sketchy, very, very intimidating at first. Blitzscaling has a potential to rapidly scale up your business and to be able to be first in the marketplace, to be able to be one of the first, so you can ultimately have a bigger market share and not be pushed around by people that have either existed there or that are too big to be intimidated by. Use blitzscaling to your ultimate advantage, and don't forget to be a kind human being when doing so. So, thank you very much. Thank you for listening to my presentation. You guys have a great day.